So I have to be honest, while Am I Actually the Strongest isn't my overall favorite show of the season, I was pretty sad that there was no episode last week. Initially I thought it was because of production issues, but it was something to do with some program in Japan taking up this, and there's one or two more anime that couldn't air last week because some other program stole their TV slot, and because of how contracts work with streaming sites, they can't air the episodes before they air in Japan on TV, so we got a week break, and the wait was definitely worth it. The plot is indeed thickening, and the idea of having one ice-cold mofo Haurto, who literally a couple weeks back was, he could have easily peacefully killed the people who were causing a ruckus. No, he burned people alive. Like, he's someone who, if left unchecked, I feel like he would have burned the whole castle down this episode had his dad not given him a pep talk. He is someone who, if you mess with his family, he will burn you, he will cut you, he will make your life living hell, and he'll put you 6 feet under. Hell, just to get a point across, he almost buried a bunch of cult leaders alive just to get some answers, and as far as we know, man, a couple of them may have actually continued to be buried for all we know. But they end this episode with a pretty big bombshell. So the queen, aka his birth mother, right, is basically, she has a target on Charlotte's head. The adorable little sister of the show. Why would she want to kill her? She's harmless. Well, in the future, her powers are going to rival and most likely surpass the queen, and she wants no competition. Pretty evil queen mentality, but it makes sense. And the idea that we were pretty much establishing, like, let's just go kill her, right? We know Haurto's the type of person who will burn and kill anyone who touches his family. But the idea that she's almost a necessary evil, that without the queen, civil war, civil unrest would happen. She does keep the peace, it's just she's obviously a bitch. Like, let's just put it as nicely as that. And it's gonna be interesting because now there's a end goal, there's a hook. It's him keeping his sister safe until she becomes of age that she could become queen, and then ultimately that's when we get our revenge. That's when a mother and son truly get to come face to face, and probably before that, but most importantly, that's most likely when the death could probably happen. And either way, this definitely elevated Am I Actually the Strongest from just a simple, funny, almost, is it a parody? Is it just taking the piss? We don't know, to, okay, the story hook's actually pretty damn engaging. Full live reaction episode 4 of Am I Actually Strongest is available on my Patreon. If you would like to see my full uncut thoughts as I watch today's probably best out of the 4 episodes, maybe that's just me, but I truly think this was the strongest. Definitely made the wait worth it, because I think, coming back a week later, most people probably thinking it's production issues. It was just an okay episode, probably would have made people a little salty, but I think this is the one that hooks you right in. And I do appreciate what they're doing with the little prince and princess here, because ultimately, after kind of knocking the shit out of this boy, I thought he'd be kind of more of an evil prince, like a little Joffrey in the making. But honestly, I kind of feel like while there's going to be envy, while there's going to be jealousy, I don't really get the impression, just based on that little cart ride, that he's going to be someone who's actually going to try to stab him in the back. More so, bitch, how did you get so strong? As he's casually like, hey, I just think of myself as stronger than I am. And they're like, wait a second, are you a child of a demon? Like, what's going on? I like how they just hook you in. There is that comedy. I mean, the intro to this episode, it feels like Discount Power Rangers, right? It's like Super Sentai, man. It's our boy literally dressed as Zero from Code Geass with his, oh man, Flay, you love her, bless her heart, but she is carnage. She is a walking disaster. And I like the fact that a show that started with kind of like an evil beast is still feeling kind of like an evil beast. Hey, anytime Charlotte's watching, don't go too crazy. A-okay. Fire blast, burning people alive. If it wasn't for our boy putting the barrier around, they literally would have been burned alive. And honestly, man, the fact that they gave her the goofiest ass costume, I mean, you might be able to make the argument he also has, but I like the fact that it's, Black Knight. It's literally Zero from Coke. Come on, it's brilliant. It is. Hers in that mask is just, oh man, it's so stupid and I love it. But I appreciate, right? You got, these kind of occurring gags, like the fact that he went out of his way to make a clone that would be able to do all the BS that he doesn't want. Because if we remember, when he died and got isekai'd, he's like, I'm gonna go live out a fantasy life. I'm gonna be lazy slob and do nothing. And basically, he started to use that for moments that he didn't want, like sending your clone to do the dinners and, the political BS that obviously is going to exhaust a character like him. And the fact that he had the nerve to have him bring back the food that looked delicious, that even Gordon Ramsay would say is 5 stars. And he's like, bro, you actually are going to make me do this? How sick mofo are you? And I just love that, I really do. And it's interesting, right? Because by the end of this episode, he pretty much makes the declaration that I'm going to keep her safe. I'm going to keep my little sister safe. And when she becomes of age, we'll take care of this bitch of a queen. And basically, then I'll get to live out my peaceful days. Obviously, it ain't gonna be like that, because if she already has a target on her head for basically potentially surpassing the queen, you put Charlotte on the throne, it's gonna be a whole life of people trying to hurt her, her enemies and stuff. It doesn't matter how beloved of a queen you are, you're gonna have enemies. And I appreciate the fact that the political side of this is a lot more interesting than you probably would think a show like this that's, you know, letting little sisters watch anime and turn into weebs or all of these moments, but there is a surprising sense of maturity in the right moments. Like, okay, you try to hurt my family, you mess with me, you have to die. I can't let you go, I can't just trust you'll be okay. The idea that the mother and the king, the father who tossed you away, right? The fact that these moments, you know, he never went out of his way to investigate them because he had no love for them. He had no interest. And from his point of view, he just wanted to live a normal, peaceful life. And because he didn't investigate, he definitely didn't realize that, you know, he can't just simply go out of his way and kill this woman who he has no love for. So it's not simply like, oh, it's a person, blah, blah. No, it's like, oh, if I kill her right now, there would be civil unrest. There'd be civil war. Dad, why don't you go on the throne? Well, I don't want the throne. There is someone, but she's too young, right? They're setting in motions these actually really interesting plot lines, but the crutch and the core theme of the show is fun, it's excitement, it's almost just weird and silly, but then when it does get more serious, you'll really like the meat and potatoes of the plot. I would have been perfectly fine if this was a show that was just, okay, is he going to become a demon someday? Is he the second coming of the demon lord? Everyone's a little scared of his powers and what he can do, but you know, we're watching a little sister watch anime and then also watching the live action remake between Flay and Haurto when they go kick butt at night. And obviously one doesn't know how to maybe pull her punches as much as the brother would like. But with this episode, they really set in motion the plot thickening, and that's a really good sign for the rest of this season. I really, really do enjoy this one. And it was actually one of the weaker shows I was expecting to watch this season that I was considering, but I was like, oh, it's going to be funny for an episode or two. But I've really come to appreciate this one. I think it's shaping up to be a great, great isekai. And I don't know, man, I like it when the isekai get a little violent, a little dark, and, you know, the characters are kind of being like me. I'm like, bitch, we're in this world, why not go extreme when, you know, they ain't gonna be nice to us, and I do appreciate that. But let me know what you thought. We're now 4 episodes in. How are you feeling? Do you agree with me that this episode really kind of elevates the plot, or do you have a different opinion? Let me know down below. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new around here, of course ring that bell so you can get notified when I upload more videos to the channel, and hey, like I mentioned, we got that full live reaction available on my Patreon. And while you're there, you'll also get a video shout out. So today we have Samantha Trannugan, Cyrus Blood iOS, and the Trandoman Anime Man. I appreciate the support, everyone. Please take care, and y'all have a good one.